What is up, everybody? It's Steve Grillo, and you're listening to Grillo's Aftershock Excel on the Aftershock Excel Network. Coming to you straight from Hell's Kitchen. It's not live. It's going to be recorded because we're going to be dealing with some heavy material today. And we all know what it's like out there with this world that we live in as far as being censored, canceled, labeled something. And we have to be very careful about what we put up on YouTube because if it's deemed controversial or if it's deemed what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? If it's deemed like
anything
conspiracy theory, if they can't back it up, or if it damages or threatens somebody's lies in the government, in the political world, if it tells the truth where truth is not supposed to be told, they will shut your ass down. So we're going to record this, and Mindy, I want to. I'm going to introduce you in a second, but it's a very dangerous world, as you know, more so than anybody else. We're working on. We're fighting back now, and we're not going to get there. But I want to give everybody a little heads up. I've been trying to get up more shows. I want to thank Pro Media from the past where I did my shows before. Unfortunately, thanks to things that were that have been going on, Pro Media is unfortunately not opening back up, and I'm going to be stuck doing it here from my apartment in Hell's Kitchen until further notice. But I do want to thank Pro Media for 2 years of unbelievable kindness and generosity to me and faith in what I do, because they gave me my studio for free. They provided me with directors and cameras and awesome producers like Scott and awesome engineers. Oh my God, I'll think of his name in a second. I'm just having a brain fart. But I had some wonderful people. Joe D'Imperio, who owned Pro Media, believed in me, had faith in me from the beginning. I'm going the wrong way. I'm so dyslexic. He had faith in me from the beginning, and I'm really sad that Pro Media, unfortunately, is going to have to close down due to, the circumstances that, you can do a lot of stuff from home these days. And after the pandemic, it was just made no sense to reopen. So thank you very much for the wonderful 2 years that you guys backed me up and you had my back and you believed in me and you made my show look amazing. Max, the sound engineer, wonderful kid, Scott and Joe D'Imperio and everybody else that helped me with the show. It's a sad day that, Pro Media is no longer in Times Square. And I just wanted to say thank you to them. Well, let's just get right to the show. My first guest, as you see, is a very beautiful young woman sitting next to me, kind of hypothetically, in this virtual world that we live in. Ms. Mindy Robinson. She is a political analyst. She's a not analyst. We went through this.
I'm just I don't look at polls. Who stops to take a poll?
No, you say it.
I'm a constitutionalist
commentator. You're a political commentator.
A journalist. Yeah. I write for the DC Patriot, and obviously an investigative journalist. I just did the big piece, which of course you blew up my phone about because you want to know about the Route 91 uncovering the cover-up, which is about the Las Vegas shooting, which people go, oh yeah, that's right. Because after 2 weeks, the media buried it because they did such a bad job covering it up.
Yeah. So I want to give everybody a little bit of history of how we know each other. I was out in LA, and me and Mindy did a very interesting, what was it? An infomercial. It was a TV pilot about infomercials, basically.
It was like instead of Mythbusters, we were busting infomercial products to see if they actually worked, which was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because Mindy was polite enough to roll around in a bunch of cat hair, and I tried one of those lint rollers, and I happened to roll it all over her, and it was kind of entertaining for me. Anyway, and that's how we became friends. We did this, and it was actually a great idea. And I don't know, I guess as great idea goes, once you film it, if it's not in the right person's hands.
Well, someone else stole it. I saw a breakdown a few months later for the same thing. And that's what happens in this town. This town sucks.
So I know you're in Vegas. Sorry, I got my Vegas drinking cup tonight.
Okay. I'm just drinking some fiffy drink.
With vodka?
I wish. No, I'm already weird enough. I don't need to be drunk when I do podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh.
So Mindy and I became instant friends from there, and we stayed in touch on social media. And I just always thought you were instantly a wonderful person and someone that I enjoyed talking to and being around and sharing stuff. And then, we had that the last time you came, when you came on my show the last time, we have the same beliefs and we have the same thoughts, and we're kind of people that look at common sense, where so much so it doesn't happen these days. And the common sense thing is, well, here's the blue chair is blue. You know, and a lot of people don't see it. They see it as red. There's color blindness, and there's a lot of manipulation that goes on in the media and political areas. And you're very political, where I am not, because as soon as I turn political, A, I'm not good at defending myself. I'm not smart enough. And B, all of a sudden people start turning off. So it's you are political, and I love what you do because you are relentless in your pursuit of truth and honesty and the realism that goes on, and it's the stuff that's just right there in your face, and people don't like truth anymore. Mindy, why?
Because the truth hurts. It is a lot easier to lie to people. That's why people do white lies. I've never been one for white lies. People are like, hey, can you tell me your opinion?
Can you say white lies anymore? Can you say white lies anymore? Is that racist now?
Oh, probably. What's a black lie? I don't know. But no, like people would lie to people. You know, here's the thing. I'm an East Coaster. A lot of people don't realize it. I'm a mass hoe. And I moved to California. Now, obviously, I'm in Vegas. But I was rude to people because I was honest. I'm like, you want me to lie to you? And they really do. It was a bizarre thing, and I don't do it. It doesn't matter. My face is going to give me away. If they ask me something, I'm like you know, I cringe. I can't even help it. But people don't want to know the truth. It's easier to hear a lie. It's easier to be told, you know, fat is beautiful and stupid is okay, and what your TV says is true, and this bright orange food is probably healthy for you. It's so much easier to lie to people. It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And, you know, I think most people are good people, but you wouldn't know it because we're not in charge, and we're not in charge of the media. We're not the ones on TV. You just hear stupidness over and over again. And that's who's preaching to the masses. I think they're a minority, but they're a loud minority, and they're hard to get around.
Yeah, but people don't like to hear the truth, and that's why I sort of stay away from politics. I'm kind of like any rule that should be in every bar is no religion, no politics. But I sometimes, in moments like this where I think you do have something that needs to be heard, I will open my mouth and not care if people tune me out or unfriend me or anything like that, because we're not going down a political road. I'm all about facts, and there's a lot of facts that you have to tell and what we're going to talk about. But I do want. Can we talk about the night we went out in the city?
Okay. My boyfriend accidentally stabbed himself and didn't even flinch, and you're just like, who are you?
Can we say who your boyfriend is?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you're gonna.
One of the baddest men on the planet, 2-time heavyweight world champion, Randy Couture, and Mindy was kind enough to invite me out to go hang out with her.
It was our anniversary, by the way.
Yeah, you might be your anniversary, and I was so humbled by that. And you know, I'm such a huge fan of your boyfriend, and you know, just because I was a wrestler, and I understand the amount of dedication and training and heart that it takes to go that far in a sport like that. You know, I didn't get to, like, when I got to the college level, I got my ass beat. I can't imagine what it was take to get to an international badass pounding situation where you're one of the best in the world. So I can imagine, you know, I was intimidated. And the moment I met him, he got up and he gave me a hug, and he was like the nicest person in the world. And we continued to have a wonderful night, but it was a steak restaurant. And in the middle of dinner, the knife, you know, those big steak knives that you get in those fancy restaurants, happened to fall. And of course, Randy has still got the quickest reflexes in the world. And he grabbed the knife and it fell under the table. And me and Mindy looked at each other, and then we looked at Randy, and he had that face, and he just picked up the knife in his hand, and it was the wrong side. And he started, like, cutting his hand, and in true badass action, he just blew it off like it was nothing. He just put a little, he wiped it off with a napkin, and it was just kind of like, okay, whatever.
And then he wiped it off on you.
Yeah, and then and then he did one of the coolest things. We went to one of my favorite bars. The bartender was Irish, off the boat Irish, and happens to be one of the biggest Randy Couture fans on the planet. And when I told Randy that, he went in by himself and slammed his hand on the bar. It was like, I heard you're a Conor McGregor fan. What the fuck is up with that? And the guy literally almost shit his pants. Randy Couture is there, pointing his finger in his face, yelling at him. And then I walked in the door, and he goes, I knew, for fuck's sake, I knew it had to be you. So there was a point. I wish I should have found the shirt. There's a point where, like, you know, we all took a group picture, and the next day I go, what the fuck is this all over my shirt? Oh wait, it's Randy Couture's blood.
Like the Shroud of Turin now. You have to keep it forever.
So that shirt will be available on eBay. If anybody wants to get a shirt that has Randy Couture's DNA, And well, you can check in on Grillo's Aftershock XL to find out. Just kidding. I can't find the shirt, so there you go.
Oh my gosh, you probably watched it.
No,
No,
I
but
get
yeah,
it.
it's a shame we don't know how to have fun. But that's like every day of our life is just weird. Every day, like when it's normal, I'm like, wow, nothing weird happened. That's
no, but you guys are like so awesome. I'm gonna just text somebody who's supposed to be calling in. Did they? Oh, come on now, asshole. So, so I want to get Ian Halpern is coming on. He's a best-selling New York Times author. He's also very he's a very appropriate guest to have on with you because you're both investigators into the truth and what goes on out there. You do a lot of things about child molestation and trafficking and stuff like that. Tell everybody what you've done on that end for that.
Oh gosh, because I was doing investigative reporting, and most people won't touch the topic. And it's not funny, it's sad, but like I'm banned on Twitter for life. I'm always at Facebook.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really?
Oh yeah, they got me. And the thing is, we couldn't get pedophiles off. We couldn't get them off, even when we mass flagged them. Even when they said they were a pedophile and they were attracted to 2-year-olds in their profile, Twitter would write back and say, this isn't actually against the terms of service. So we have a problem. And most people didn't want to delve into that. There was a whole secret world where they used codes and certain things and hashtags, and that's how they would find each other. And once you find one, you can find the rest because they follow each other. So, it was just constant. InfoWars was the only, news outlet that would have me on about it. No one else wanted to talk about it. It was sad. Like, that's not protecting the kids, not talking about something. This is awful. And I don't, if you're a normal person, you wouldn't even know this is going on. And that's why I wanted to warn parents, like, your children should not be online. They shouldn't be online whatsoever. They should have a flip phone. They can call you for emergencies. Children should not be online. When you think about the things that I get sent or you get sent that shouldn't be sent to any human being, they're sexual, they're gross, they're snuff films. They're sending that to kids. They're looking for kids to send them to. We used to have to be careful of the creepy guy in the white van and the puppy. But now,
I know, like free hugs, free candy,
right? But now these monsters they're hunting children online, and there is no protection to the point where you almost got to think it's on purpose, and that's another problem with the government altogether. Honestly,
yeah, I
especially the CIA.
How easy it is to even get to listen. It's real it's easy to get to a horny guy just in general. So I'll tell you a little quick story about what happened to me last week and how people can easily scam you or what they're trying to do. So I get a hi, Catherine, this is Allie, blah, 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 blah. And I go, wrong number. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. My assistant gave me the wrong number. And I was in a good mood. I was like, oh, don't be mad at your assistant. All good. Well, how's your day? And I'm like, okay, my day is great. How's yours? So it became this whole conversation. And I there was no doubt. I wasn't being naive at the whole time. I wanted to see how far to take it. I told everybody that I knew what was going on, just so to see how long it would go and how far it would go. So she said that her name was, blah, blah, blah. And she's out in LA. She's taking care of her pregnant sister. And this and that. But could you go on, I forget sorry, she doesn't want to talk because her assistant has this. And this is on my phone. This is on my cell phone. She goes, could we go on this area to talk? A text, and she sends me these pictures. She's this beautiful Chinese girl.
Sure,
I'm showing everybody. Goes, let's see how far I can take this. And I'm showing everybody. So it was about 12 hours where she was like, "You're wonderful. I can't wait to come back to meet you." This and that. And it was almost about the 12th hour. All of a sudden, it was like, so would you like to send me some money so I can invest in Bitcoin with us? And I was like, busted, you fucking stupid asshole. I had you going for 12 hours. So imagine like an unsuspecting child that is on the phone. And they just got me like, oops. I'm just sending an accidental text where if you're a child and you think it's somebody that's your own age, if you think it's like someone that you want to be friends with or you have something in common where you want to talk, it's really dangerous. And right now, speaking of stuff like this, because he has a very interesting, some news apparently, breaking news to break about the Epstein case. This is Mr. Ian Halpern. Ian, what's going on? Best-selling author. Yeah, and what's the name of your new book?
Controversy, Sex, Lies, and Dirty Money. Yeah. And first of all, I'm a big fan of Grillo. Grillo's one of the best in the business. There's not many better than him, and he's a straight shooter. And that's why this show is so important, because there's three types of people in life: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who don't know what happened. And Grillo makes them happen, just like yourself, Mindy. And I'll say one thing, with all due respect to both of you, we are living in such fucking concerning times now. We don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow and what the world's going to be like. And that's why I'm here. And I thank the legendary Steve Grillo for having me back on, because if we don't put out the energy and the truth, this world is going to be a bunch of lost souls, and we're just all going to die by the wayside without anybody paying attention or caring. And unfortunately, that's where we are now.
Ian, your Venmo just went through.
That is good.
Thank you for coming on the show. And Mindy, we're going to get to Route 91, and we're going to spend a lot of time on that. But there's some, well, you know, and it's weird because I had Chris Hansen on my show. I met him on the street, the nicest guy in the world. It turns out he was a Howard Stern fan. He came on my show, and we talked in great length about his favorite episodes. And I am like, you know, listen, diddling kids could possibly be the top crime that is the worst in the world. And you being Ian being a Jeffrey Epstein expert, and Mindy has done her fair share of stuff to investigating stuff like this. We're talking about that right now, and Mindy has done her fair share. She's been thrown off of Twitter because she's outed pedophiles on Twitter, and they're okay to stay on because Mindy has an opinion. She's now banned for life from Twitter. Now, you said you had something explosive about the Jeffrey Epstein case that you wanted to lay out. What's the story with that? She got convicted. She disappeared. She disappeared much like everything that happened in Route 91 in Mindy's documentary. Well, what's your take on what happened and what's going on? And Mindy, if you have anything about this, I'd love to hear it when Ian's done.
You want me to say it or Mindy?
Yeah, well,
I don't know it. You know it.
What's it? Hold on. Where are you? In Buenos Aires or something like that?
I'm in Medellin, Colombia.
So,
used to be the most dangerous city in the world.
Yeah,
and honestly, today it's one of the safest places, in my humble opinion, and most beautiful, kind people.
Yeah.
The Epstein thing is very concerning, and I'm sure Mindy has a lot to say about this. I'm the only person to ever interview the sociopath at length. It's all in my book, Controversy, Sex, Lies, and Dirty Money, which has been a huge bestseller. Epstein, look, until Prince Andrew is held accountable, I give all the info in my book with new victims of Andrew. Just because Ghislaine Maxwell is behind bars wearing striped pajamas, until Andrew is properly held accountable, the victims cannot have justice. And I want Mindy's opinion on that.
Well, I don't understand how they found her guilty, which means these men are guilty and they have not released the names. What right? Or do they think they're doing this under? They need to release those names. And I want to know where all these videos are. The guy dealt in blackmail. So we know there's videotapes of all the sex, everyone he's ever been at his house has had with children. Where are they? The government has them. I mean, wasn't there like something where they got the evidence and it was already tagged from the other time they let him go? This is terrible. This is so ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that there's been no justice. Everyone knows Epstein didn't kill himself. Everyone knows the cameras didn't malfunction. Everyone knows these guards didn't just fall asleep. But no one's going back far enough for accountability. And I think the entire world needs to be pissed. Because obviously, and my favorite part is it's a conspiracy theory when you have elite child sex trafficking rings. Yet here we are. And here's the government helping to cover them up. And I think people need to be angry. And where do we put
it? It's a multi-billion-dollar business a year at child sex trafficking. It's in every state.
When did evidence become a conspiracy? That's what. How did we lose our way? You know, and so you know, I heard another. You know, now what I'm about to say is a conspiracy because nobody knows what happened. You know, and when you present facts and they become conspiracy, that's scary. But you know, here's a theory that I had heard that he had so much dirt on so many people hidden all over the world that did he die? Did he fucking say, I'll give you these tapes if I disappear and you say I died?
No. Mindy outlined it correctly, which I outlined in my book. Security cameras turned off. This is the top security prison maybe on the planet. The guards fall asleep. Epstein, the forensic pathological expert who was hired independently by his brother, says it's impossible the guy committed suicide. His lawyer said he's not a candidate to commit suicide. Come on, Steve. We've seen it all before. This was a professional job, bar none. He was taken out for a reason, so all the information would not properly come out. And I agree with what Mindy said, Steve.
Do you think he's dead? Because there's a chance he's not dead. A guy like that dies, there's going to be a kill switch that, boom, everything he's ever had on anybody is going to get released. The fact that didn't happen and the fact it's so weird and there's no cameras and stuff and makes you think they could have easily just switched him out and he's living on another island. We don't know.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because if you remember Ken Lay from Enron, nobody ever saw the body in the coffin, and there's been reports of him living in Israel. And with that type of bread, when you have access, it's not too difficult to do a name change, an identity change, and to keep living not under the radar.
I'm going to go further. I don't think it has to do with the amount of money he has. I think it's the amount of dirt he has on people. You know, when you have that many.
Well, for sure. Everybody was shaking in their boots. Bill Clinton, Leon Black. In my book, I talk about Epstein and Leslie Wexner's controversial and suspicious relationship, and especially the British royal family. And when you fuck with the British royal family,
Princess
they
Diana.
know them and the Clintons, people always just disappear. And this is what happened. You know, in my book, everybody reported Clinton was on the flight log of the Lolita Express 26 times. In my book, I reveal it was actually 61, that Epstein made them erase the flight log. And it just goes deeper with Jamal Khashoggi. I was the only person in the world to reveal that MLB, what's his name there? Mohammed bin MBS, he paid Epstein a boatload of money, for information on Khashoggi 8 months before Khashoggi was murdered. Jeffrey Epstein, in my book, I out as a triple agent with the Mossad, with Saudi, and also with Libya with the late dictator Muammar Gaddafi. He had incredible ties with Gaddafi, and would bring all kinds of young women for Gaddafi, virgins.
Wasn't
Gaddafi only wanted white virgins in exchange for millions and millions of dollars?
Wasn't Gaddafi about to change the world currency? What are you doing, Ian? You're all over the place. What are you doing? Lines and fucking then coming back?
No, I can't hear.
He's like,
I'm on my cell phone. I'm in South America, so every time you speak, I put it to my ear because the sound. I mean, the internet's not so good where I am. I'm high up in the mountains. So I apologize, Steve, for that.
Seems normal.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's out of his mind. No, so anyway, I'm gonna. Did he just freeze up? So let's start talking about why you're here, Mindy, because you started this whole thing. This is your fault. We'll get back to Epstein in a little while because we'll come back to your book, but I want to. Mindy's here because she also has something that's like groundbreaking. I watched it and it's kind of disturbing. And you know what? What makes me mad, Mindy, is because they got me too. Because you know what? I forgot about that shooting in Las Vegas. October 1st, 2017, there was a mass murder, Route 91 music festival in Las Vegas, and it was shut down real quick. 2 weeks later, no one heard about it, and 91 people lost their lives. How many people lost their lives?
58, 59 if you count Paddock. There were a few afterwards that did not, unfortunately, recover from their injuries, so the number just kind of keeps going up after that night. But the thing was, this is the largest mass shooting, not by the government. I have to add that, lest we forget about Waco and a few other things. It's the largest mass shooting done supposedly by a single civilian. And within 2 weeks, they told the media to drop it. Now, I know for a fact they told the local news to drop it, but you see everything else fall in lockstep. That's the thing. If they're not going to report on it, that's it. And then social media, if someone like me or anybody, anyone that was looking in, like, this doesn't make sense, because there were shootings up and down the strip. There were guns found. There were magazines. There were dozens of casings near the Tropicana. That's on the other side of the Mandalay Bay. There were people that saw people shooting, saw gunmen. I mean, it's insane. And that's why I had to break it down minute by minute. And the only reason we know that is because of the police scanners. I mean, people were really good about that stuff. And any alternative theory was banned and suppressed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. They didn't even want you talking about anything other than one shooter. And within 3 hours, they thought it was one shooter and no one else did. And they had so many holes. They had missing evidence. You know, the hard drive walks off a hot set. When you watch the video, there's a bunch of things I have a problem with. They kept telling cops to turn off their body cameras.
What freaked me out too was when the helicopters.
Yeah.
Like there was like helicopters all over the place already there in place.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If they had turned their transponders off sometime in between the shooting and after, they could have had an excuse like, hey, you know, whatever. They turn them off right before the shooting happens, and they don't go back on until the minute the main shooting ceases. And I got a problem with that, because the only entity that can get away with doing that is our own government. Because all our government has to do is FOIA request McCarran, or they already know this stuff. I mean, the FFA, you can't just get away with 4 helicopters flying around, turning off their transponders, doing shady shit. And that's what's terrifying. So obviously, if you want to push gun, and I think they were going for the entire Second Amendment, they wanted to say that all semi-automatic weapons could be automatics with the bump stock, which is bullshit, but whatever. They didn't get it. They had to drop it. So we lost suppressors, we lost universal concealed carry, and we lost bump stocks. And they were going for the whole thing.
Go ahead.
They shot at a Second Amendment crowd. Even like the old ladies knew the different trajectories and the sounds of different calibers. And why was the shooting getting closer? No, the closer they got to a completely different casino, and all the other things that don't make sense. And it's worth watching. I know it's 2 hours, but man, if I didn't talk fast, I know it'd be a lot longer. But it's
this is amazing stuff, by the way. Amazing what you're saying.
Your camera not working? What happened? You okay?
I have a good face for radio, Steve. I'm not like you, who's a TV star.
Oh, please, dude! You totally like the Unabomber. It's great. I love it.
Thanks, Steve. No, look. I agree with what Mindy's saying. I think her research is impeccable. And Mindy, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's a lot of loose pieces in that particular case.
Yeah, I can prove the cover-up. I can't prove what others. I know they were going for a gun grab, but a gun grab, you really would have only needed one person with a gun. The helicopters, all the other things, that implies that there was something deeper, and it's looking to be some kind of, again, Saudi thing. Same thing with the Boston bombing in 9/11. There's a Saudi connection. It's not the guy walking through Tropicana. Actually LVPD stealing the footage. But there is something going on with the Saudis. I keep getting intel, but it's from people that can't go on record. So I have to reverse engineer everything, but there'll definitely be a supplement to this. People want the truth. And if I'm add one thing, Joey Gilbert is running for governor against the sheriff that covered up this crime. And he's agreed, he's vowed that if he wins, he's reopening the case. He's going to get all the footage that's missing. I mean, it's Las Vegas. It's the most surveilled city in the world. And we don't have the footage from, we're going off cell phone footage and a couple of body cameras that weren't turned off. That's unexplainable. It's too inept. This was definitely done on purpose, and everyone sees it. And I love that I got a chance to remind about 1 million people, in the last 2 weeks that, we didn't get an answer for this, and I'm not going to stop. This is my town. Been there 8 years. I'm going to keep fighting. I'll tell you what.
You didn't necessarily. Now, you just didn't narrate this. I can't imagine that you were that removed from it. This was like something you've been working on personally.
Half a year.
Yeah. And the cool thing is that you got a lot of personal footage from people that were suppressed probably by the press, that were vehemently claiming about where the guns were coming from and where the helicopters were and all these different things. And they're running around in different places and people are getting shot, and where they're saying it's coming from one guy and the guy is not even close to where these other people are getting shot at. And it's just unbelievable. You sent me the link and I watched it, and then I was so blown away about it that I tweeted it and I sent you the picture. It was like, this content cannot be shown. Yeah. And it was instantly and then when you watch it on YouTube, there's a disclaimer. And I'm surprised. I'm glad that you got that far on YouTube, because the platforms for showing truth are getting narrower and narrower and narrower. and you're someone that needs to be heard. And what now? Are you able to do your? I know you had the best name for a podcast and a show, Red, White, and FU. Is that something that you're still able to do, or do you just like stop? You got
Yeah, I
tired of,
don't
like,
do, obviously COVID happened and I just didn't get, the studio was in LA and I just didn't get enough chance, and then eventually it sold. But that's still the brand. I still have the website. When I do things that are a little bit too much for the DC Patriot or another publication,
No,
I throw it up on there.
Look, you're
and
doing a
that's
great
kind of,
job, but my big question is, how many shooters were there? Obviously, there's more than one shooter here. Is that correct?
it has to be. It has to be.
And that's the big red flag. So what, that right away says this merits a complete reopening of the case. And until the powers that be come to grips with this and give out the proper explanation to the victims, the families of the victims, to me, this case remains undetermined.
Well, I don't think the FBI is going to investigate themselves for it, because that's who I think did it. I mean, that's what it's looking like. I mean, they're the ones that covered it up. You got missing hard drives, messed up evidence. If you've seen it, you know that there's at least 50 things that should have never happened. And
why do we always see this in America? You look at, more than a half century after JFK was assassinated, we still question the facts behind his November 22nd, 63 shooting in Dallas. And why does this continually happen, where now we're living in a social media world? You have guys like Grillo out on the streets with cameras, microphones, and still there's so many holes in these investigations. It's alarming.
Well,
I have a good question for both of you, and this is I just came to me because between you, Ian, and you, Mindy, who are aware of the horrible things that are going on and the mistreatment of the American public and just people, us as human, intelligent, well, you guys, not me, intelligent human beings that are able to see what's really right in front of them. Is there going to be, even though there are defining moments and it still gets covered up, is there going to be like a bombshell thing that the government's going to, they're not going to be able to stop the truth or the reality of something? Because, like, with the Hunter Biden, the truth and reality is so there, and yet it's ignored and it's covered up. Do you believe in your heart of hearts that at some point there's going to be one thing where the government's going to have to go, yeah, shit.
It's happening right now, Grillo. It's called the clot shot. It's called this bioweapon that they're passing off as a vaccine that has no long-term testing, no generational side effects. And if you even talk about the side effects or the deaths it's causing, you'll get censored and canceled. They've always been lying to us. The thing is, we have social media to break them out of that bubble. If they're going to post something fake, people like me and you, we're going to call them out on it, which is why we have to be censored. And so this is the first time, I think, for generations, we've really understood this has always been happening, whether it's the Kennedy assassination, whether it's 9/11, whether it's the Boston bombing, whether it's a lot of things. People are going to have to wake up. And this vaccine that we made on tax dollar money with our enemy, China, I mean, I don't take cures from the people that make the disease. I don't know about you, but people are dying from this vaccine. People are getting really sick. Soccer players are dropping dead on the field. I don't remember this ever happening before, but people are waking up and they know something's wrong. They don't know what, because it's censored. You're not going to see it on the news. You're not going to see it on Facebook. It's all banned. You're going to have to go outside that box, call up a conspiracy theory friend and have them talk to you for a whole night, buy them a bunch of beers. The stuff that I know now, I mean, if you had told me 10 years ago I'd be an anti-vax person, I wouldn't have believed you, but here we are. I love my country, but I hate the government. They've always done this. This is the first time we've known, and I think what they're most terrified
I can't point fingers at anybody without smoking gun proof. Now, you're accusing the FBI. I mean, that's a big accusation, with all due respect to
yourself. If they wanted to solve it, they could, but they're not. So therefore, they had to have something in it. They either screwed up a gun sale,
control. I've done a lot of true crime investigations, and sometimes they just can't get to the bottom of it because these things are so sophisticated. I mean, they're only human beings.
Give me the tools then, because I will solve it for the FBI. The problem is I don't have the footage. They're refusing all our FOIA requests. I shouldn't have to do their job.
Why are they refusing the request? Can't you do Freedom of Information Act?
They won't. Ask Matt Couch. He's asked for the communications from McCarran Airport over and over again. They won't give it to him.
You got to go through legal channels. There's Freedom of Information Act.
That's what a FOIA is.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, why wouldn't they play ball with you?
Because I'm pretty sure they did it. Like, this has been an uphill battle. Everything I've gotten, I've had to get from primary sources, and I can't tell you how many police reports I had to read. There's hundreds of 911 calls, probably about 1,000 that night. You just play them, and I go through my day and I listen to them all. There was a lot of information, and most of it's buried. And that was the other thing. Like, I would click on this amazing video, it's gone. Website, gone. Now, I mean, this isn't the first time they've done this. They've done other things I can prove.
This psychopath who shot at Mandalay Bay Resort before killing himself.
I don't think he did.
Well, there's that dry blood theory, and I saw that, and it was really disturbing because
the two blood
there's
stains,
blood there, and then there's more blood there.
Well, I'll know right away because my good buddy is the top investigative producer in the world and covered this. In fact, he rented the room right below the guy. And, as soon as he heard about this, he checked into the hotel. And in fact, he was just in Colombia with me, but we didn't really talk about it. But he did a whole thing, I think, for 2020 on this. So, I will pick his brain. I usually speak to him every day and find out more. But what you're saying,
I was talking.
Look, where there's smoke, there's fire. Obviously, Mindy knows something that the rest of the world doesn't. And I respect that. But to get to the bottom of it without speculation, what we need is hardcore facts. And I'm not seeing the smoking gun here yet, Mindy. With all due respect, I'm not discounting what you're saying.
How about that?
But where's the smoking gun?
Explain to me the 24 casings found near the Tropicana. If there's not another shooter, what are those doing there?
That was the case,
but it's still not a smoking gun.
It was the used casing convention. You didn't know that? It was a used casing convention. Everybody brought their used casing.
Yeah. And then they sprinkled a couple of magazines, and then they dropped 2 guns. That's what happened.
Look, I want to say loud and clear, no matter who's behind this, the first thing is still condolences to the victim, the families of the victims, and the friends, because they can never get over this. And for something like this to happen in our day and age, we as citizens, we all have to be concerned because it's not pretty. And, I just wonder, did people play down the politics even of the shooter? Like, something doesn't make sense here.
Well, the thing is,
I'm trying to get to it. And Mindy, you obviously know more. I mean, this happened, I believe, in 2017.
Yeah.
And the evidence, as Mindy outlines, I think it demands a second look. I will go on record for that.
It's so funny because I'm sitting here talking to you into the microphone like it's really plugged in.
Steve, it's good to be with you, Steve. You're one of the last of the Mohican pros left in this crazy business.
I need to ask everybody, his family is okay?
Have family?
Family, I'm talking about nobody's sick.
I mean, I don't know. My parents are dead.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? Are you doing good? That's what I want to know. Everything's okay in your lives. That's it. It's a courtesy answer. Question.
Okay.
As long as we're breathing today, it's good because nobody really gives a fuck. We're living in
care and concern. That's all.
We're living in troubling times, man, and. I've seen a lot of these conspiracy theories, but still, I want to see a smoking gun with all I'm not discounting anything that Mindy's saying because she's very erudite. She's at the top of her game, but I just want to see a smoking gun because I specialize in true crime, and I won't come out with anything until I see a smoking gun.
Did you finish the documentary?
And pardon the pun on this.
What was that, Mindy? You broke up a little bit.
he needs to watch the documentary. There's going to be at least 50 things that are almost criminally negligent on part of the LVPD and the FBI.
I'm not discounting that, but in your opinion, because everybody's like a neophyte to this, you're an expert. And yes, there was lots of craziness there.
The FBI covered it
lots
up.
of unanswered
The
questions.
FBI 100% covered it up. You can watch the footage of Lombardo shaking and talking and lying with the FBI agent looking at him, and you can tell, like, there's so many things you're wrong. They let the house get broken into for their main suspect. Okay. There's 3 women registered to that room that Paddock was in. There's no investigation. They won't even say who it is. That sounds like the feds fucked up and got a bunch of people fucking killed, and they can't admit it. That's what it looks like. And the cover up tells me I'm probably right. And if it wasn't them, why would they cover it up?
Okay, let's look at
What
the
other reason
shooter.
would there be to cover this up if they didn't have a hand in it or fuck something up?
But let's look at the shooter. Obviously,
there's
all kinds of theories there were more shooters, but we know Stephen Paddock was one.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think he was doing a gun deal. He wanted to do something for the feds. He probably thought he was setting some Saudis up. I don't know. That part I don't know, because I would need more information.
I know, but that's a big part. That's a big piece of a puzzle.
Okay, there's no gun residue on Paddock. How about that?
Yeah, that
he turned the gun on himself after the massacre. That's a fact.
There's no way you shoot off 1,000 rounds. There ain't no fucking gun residue on you.
I remember.
Dead men don't wipe their own prints.
Well,
what?
Shit. Dead men don't wipe their own prints.
Yeah. There's how did the one room in 134 get locked from the other side and Paddock's dead on the other side? How did he lock that and never leave the room and magically transport to the other side? There's so much freaking wrong with the case that I literally get mad when I think about it. And God forbid the next time I run into Lombardo, he's been running for me. So we'll see what happens.
So are you
She'll have a volunteer
discounting
meeting. He's
Paddock
running for
as
governor.
being
I'll
one of
just
the
show up.
shooters?
Hold on. What was that, Mindy?
I don't think Paddock was the shooter. I don't think so. I think he was shot before it even happened. There was a gunshot at 3:45 that day. The MGM didn't investigate, but I know happened because that person was on the floor and they reported it to us. And unfortunately, they lost a relative in the shooting, which is why they're a little
scared. You don't
scared
think Paddock ranting and raving weeks before about gun control, right-wing conspiracies?
He didn't even. His last real job was for Lockheed Martin, a military industrial complex. This guy had a pilot's license. He had no online presence. Remember the goofy picture with his eyes closed? Like that's all they had when they had his driver's ID right there. I think he was doing a gun sale. They were supposed to catch people. He gets popped. They commit the crime, whether on purpose or not. We'll never know. I'll need more information for the FBI. But and then obviously there's something else going on. You had 19 wounds that were parallel trajectory in almost all the same grouping. How does that happen when you're getting shot at from up top? One, maybe,
but Mindy, with all due respect, the key words here is you think. But there's no smoking gun that you know.
You can say it how many times you want. The FBI covered this up. Let's just rest it at that.
But when you go back and you look at like autopsy reports, and there's bullets that aren't supposed to be coming from where they're saying they're coming from, that's evidence. It's not hearsay or conjecture. If a person gets shot in the head this way, and they say the gun's coming from the street, and then no one's acknowledging the fact that. That's not out. We need to get a Dexter that knows how to.
They didn't do ballistics. They did not do ballistics that they have released, or they will admit they released from the victims to the guns in the room. I
tried to have a buddy of mine come on who is an ex-Army Ranger sniper who was in Afghanistan. He's he fought hard for our country, 2 Purple Hearts, and I wanted him to come on and explain how where gunfire comes from and how it echoes off, how people get shot from far away, and which way he wasn't able to come on tonight. And if you bring an expert on to explain exactly what happened that night, and they analyze it, you're going to have someone come on and then they're going to disprove everything that the FBI and they said. But as soon as you do that, then you're a target. And so what are you doing you're on my little show, and I appreciate that. And I believe, when I saw it, and I love and trust you about what's going on. I wanted to help this cause because I hate seeing shit like this. How else are you getting this word out? Because I saw on YouTube you have over 100,000 hits in 7 days. That's good. What can we do to make this viral? How else can I help you to get you on different shows and do other stuff to make this more out there?
Well, it's
Yeah, well,
definitely getting out there.
it's got to be out there. But one thing, with all due respect, I think the big problem in this case is, and Mindy
If you say
alludes to
smoking
this.
gun one more time.
I know if you say
No, I'm not going to say it again. But let's cut to the chase. What Mindy basically said is, A, there was a lack of updates, very little info coming from the LVP, Las Vegas Police, and the FBI. Okay, that is suspicious for sure.
Well, I caught them
And that
lying.
stokes conspiracy theories.
I caught them
Now,
lying.
go ahead, Mindy. What were you saying?
The night of the shooting, they have the transcript. It was on the police scanners. It's on video, though they blur out the actual names. They knew Paddock checked in on the 25th. They lied the next day, so the 28th. They knew 3 people registered the room other than the girlfriend in the other room. They never investigated. They never said anything. That's not okay. When the chief of police, when the sheriff of Las Vegas can get in front of the public and blatantly lie about shit I can check online or through their own records, or when you've got the door jam either locked or unlocked, depending how LVPD wanted to spin it, because they forgot and posted it both ways, so they were messing with evidence. When you've got a hard drive that I know Paddock didn't take out because he's fucking dead, walk off a hot crime scene, and I got pictures of LVPD eating snacks off a mini bar in a hot crime scene. When you've got 2 different groups of cops being told to put off their body cams, when you've got casings you can't explain and guns you want, and the next day nothing happened, the news wouldn't even report on it. That's a conspiracy.
Yeah, but the one thing I do disagree with you on, Paddock, I mean, multiple rifles were found in his room. This guy wanted bloodshed. I don't care what anybody
Then he
says.
had a lot more money. He could have bought a lot better guns and a fucking AR with some bump stocks. Let's keep it real. The guy's worth $1 million and he only had scopes on half that shit. That's impossible.
We can't talk hypothetical, okay? Paddock definitely.
He also had 20 guns at home. He was a gun
at
guy.
the Mandalay Bay Resort.
He didn't do
for
shit.
4 days. Was he waiting for the right moment to attack? Now, maybe other people were involved. And that's why these theories have become so prevalent.
Do you realize he wasn't alone in the room that night? That the door opened from both rooms from the inside 30 minutes before the shooting, so I know someone else was in there?
Okay. Fair enough. But
did you actually watch the
documentary,
or am I just like talking to myself?
What we do know is he shot himself.
I'm not getting into it. I'm in the middle of a debate.
Okay, 10 rifles were found from his room.
Now, you don't even know the numbers. You didn't even watch this, bro.
I'm going
There's
on
23 guns. There was 1 revolver. There's 1 bolt action. What?
Go ahead.
Just,
Sorry.
why don't you watch it and we can do this again someday? But I can't argue with you if you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm telling you what's been put out there. 8 guns and rifles of different calibers were recovered by the police from his room. Yes or no?
Bud.
Well, how many? Give me a number.
I just told you weren't listening. Why don't you watch the documentary?
Know what he's doing.
We can have this conversation again. Otherwise, I'm just repeating a bunch of stuff.
Ian, I gotta admit, I brought you on because I thought you'd be a little more intrigued into the fact that this girl's done the research, and
I'm very intrigued. And Mindy's saying a lot of things, but again, we have to. I just can't dismiss Paddock as not being involved in this. It makes no sense to me.
There's a backstory. Did you hear the fact that the guy didn't have any gunpowder on him? Did you hear the fact that the guy was a millionaire and could have had more advanced guns than he did, that they said he did, and he didn't? You know, that there's a lot of other things you're not listening to that she's saying that are just more evidence that the fact that it doesn't seem like this guy had anything to do with it. That he was just more of a Lee Harvey Oswald than he is the victim.
And what better way to launder money than through gambling?
Yeah, they made him out to be something.
Doing video poker, I'm going to call bullshit.
You know, there's been so many theories in this case. I mean, I know the Muslim State Agency, they announced they took credit for the attack. They said it was an act, I believe, of terrorism. I mean, so much, you know, you get the jihadists, the FBI ruled them out. I mean, what really, if we boil down to this, would be the major goal to take out that many people in Vegas?
Yeah, but from one person, it just seems absurd. also, just some, and then I watched your video, Mindy, and there was that whole, there was that unfortunate shooting in Australia, which basically triggered the whole Australian gun ban. And I think there's a quite another theory is the fact that we tried to pull something like that off to try to further gun control. Because it worked in Australia, and I'm not saying that that's why it happened in Australia. But after you see the result in Australia, where they shut down all the guns in Australia, and now they shut down the country, you see a really bizarre the amount of control that's going on. That's focused on the abuse of what the media is doing.
And that really is what separates us from Australia. We would never give up our guns. It is the only thing that protects us from tyranny. The only thing, and the only thing that has ever brought down tyranny is an angry mob. And when you look at Australia, I mean, they're literally throwing people into concentration camps and running after them if they escape. You think they do that to a bunch of Americans, or you think they would never find those people again that came after you? That's what would happen. And these are people, we're fighting for our lives here. When it comes to this vaccine, I will shoot you before I let anyone put that needle near me. I really will. I'm fighting for my life.
What did you think of Sheriff Lombardo in this whole case?
Me?
Yeah.
I think they promised him the governorship and a lot of, he's scared. He's lying the whole thing. He's sweating. He's bumbling. He's nervous. Obviously, I've caught him in a few lies that I can prove. Who knows about the rest? Now he's running for governor. And the GOP is behind him, even though he's an anti-gun. No one likes him. Not even the cops in town. He's not the number one.
Lombardo did say that some of the conspiracy theories still need to be investigated, even after he released his huge final report in August of 2018. And then he said some need to be put to bed, but he guarantees there wasn't another shooter. That's what he said.
He can guarantee a box and a piece of shit, but that doesn't make me believe him. Yeah. He's in on it.
If you put a guarantee on the box, doesn't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? Unless you go and check it out. Let's go back to fucking, Chris Farley.
And this isn't the first time Lombardo's lied. He caused a huge problem with the Bundy ranch. He lied saying that, he was getting threatened with guns and all this stuff. I mean, that guy spent 2 years in jail because the feds were after like $1 million for like cattle grazing fees for land that wasn't even theirs. And obviously they ended up think the feds got in trouble for it. But Lombardo got on the stand and lied to people. And if you think we forgot,
well, what was that line in
So why would the FBI conclude it found no motive for the shooting, and they concluded
that's why. Do you want to go over the Boston bombing? Because I could go over that one too. That one's actually a lot easier to solve because those two kids didn't do nothing. They're on video still wearing a backpack after.
I remember being a kid and thinking, like, when you thought about the FBI and the CIA, like they were there because they were the good guys. Oh my God, it's the FBI, it's the CIA.
It's all that Hollywood stuff. Hollywood.
And one of my really close friends is one of the most decorated FBI agents. His name is Joaquin Garcia. Jack Falcone is Jack Falcone is his book, and he brought down more like tough guys in more than Donnie Brasco. And he used to call me and be like, tell me shit while he was like, Stevie, I can't believe this is happening. Stevie, I can't believe this is happening. And and I think this is a question like Doc was like a really good friend of mine. He like you didn't know. I wouldn't believe that. That the FBI or the CIA are a government. The things that we pay for and trust and hold to protect us could actually be a part of this, and that's why they get away with it because people are like, but it's the FBI and it's the CIA, and I don't think people take time to step back and say it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't mean that they're not corrupt and not doing the right thing.
Look at the Whitmer kidnapping case. It was almost all the FBI. And then the what do they call it? The main guy, the mastermind, was a homeless man who they called Captain Autistic. Like, do you think the feds set that up? And then you want to talk about, January 6th. I got my FBI visit over that because I was a speaker at the Capitol. Like the FBI. I mean, there's 20 co-conspirators. The people that are taking down the fences. The people that are removing the barriers before the speech ends. We're already breaking the law. We don't even know it. The people that were the 3 bullhorns at match, they're not looking for those people. They're not looking for Ray Epps. No, not the guy that actually said, let's go in there and do stuff. No, they want a granny waving a flag behind a relevant vote. And this is what we're up against. They basically coordinated that whole thing so we would be too afraid to protest all the other shit they've unrolled out this last year. And I mean, I call them prisoners, January 6th prisoners, trespassing, illegal parading. Who gives a fuck? These people deserve bail. This is ridiculous. They're in solitary confinement. One almost lost a fucking eye. They're saying they're getting sexually assaulted too, and for what? Trespassing. Meanwhile, how many convicted criminals were let go because of COVID? They might get sick this year. It's bullshit. And the DOJ and the FBI and the police are just the Congress goons.
What did you think about
I'm ready to
Jesus,
take down the whole federal government.
Jesus Campos in all this?
What's that?
He's the Mandalay security guard who made the first call about the shooting.
Well, after they lied about the timeline 3 times, you mean, and then he disappeared for 5 days, goes to Mexico, shows up on Ellen where she announces that this is the last interview he'll ever do, and then MGM buys him 2 condos to shut the fuck up. That guy that didn't even have a security guard license that was working for them, that guy? Yeah, that guy. I don't think he's in that. I think he was stupid, but I think he knows something that they even said it. Like, they were worried he would break under real pressure from an actual journalist or an actual interview, and he would make the MGM more liable than they already were. So I don't see how they have a right to do that either. We, the people, have the right to question.
Have you
these
interviewed
things. I want to know who the
a
three
lot
in
of
the
the
room
families of the victims?
What about it?
You're breaking up a little bit, Mindy.
Oh, I didn't hear what he said.
Have you been in contact with a lot of families of the victims?
Some people have come forward. I was a little worried because it's kind of like opening a wound that they may not take it very well. But pretty much all the comments on the YouTube are really positive. I feel bad. Like, they cried watching it, but at the end of the day, they thought they were crazy because what they saw and heard didn't match what the media said, didn't match what they came up with. So in many ways, they're thankful that they weren't just going crazy. Those things did happen. And I think it's kind of bringing Vegas together again. Everyone's talking about it again. Everyone has a story to share. I know a lot of people that were there. I was supposed to be there. I know people that were hit. I know people that lost people. And I think the best justice we can get.
No, obviously,
whether the government wants to help me or not, I can figure it out.
But would you agree the main conspiracy theory seems to be the shooting was devised by the government, mainly left wing, to provide a reason for more gun control? That's what I've read the most.
My documentary, Leave It Open, it could have been Antifa, could have been a Saudi edge. That I don't know. All I can prove is the FBI covered it up, which doesn't look good for them. It's looking like they had a hand in it, maybe on purpose, maybe on not. That I can't prove. I just know they covered it up and they had no fucking right to.
What it does prove is the fact that there was a major cover-up. That's not a conspiracy. And what it does prove is that there was more than one shooter. And those two things right there are the biggest things ever, because you really can't, after that, everything else is just, you can't believe anything that happens after that. Because if you have those two things where those two things don't add up, everything else is bullshit, whatever you hear.
Yeah.
So, all right. So it's about time to wrap it up. I love the fact that, I didn't plan this. I really thought Ian was going to be more on your side.
No,
it doesn't have to be. It's okay.
This is a great show.
It's just hard if you
and
don't
I'm not
watch it. It's kind of
why, because he's trying to fact check you, and you fucking fact checked him like it was Randy Couture in a UFC fight.
No, but I need to ask Mindy a couple of questions because she's an expert. Mindy, was this a Muslim terrorist attack carried out by an Islamic convert? Was it a Muslim terrorist attack?
In order to understand possibly what happened in Route 91, I had to go back in time a little bit and look at similar things. So I looked at the Boston bombing, which is a whole other story. And between that and 9/11 and a few other things, our government seems to like to work with the Saudis. It happened in 9/11, where that's how they got their pass. But like, there's some funky stuff going on, and it's always Saudis and it's always our government. Now, I don't understand the relationship. That I am not an expert on. It is very complicated. I know people have raised issues with it before, especially 9/11. I'll raise it again in the Boston bombing because a Saudi national was injured in the bombing, and Obama picked him up and sent him back to his family without question. Problem. And the kid they blamed,
I mean,
he's wearing a backpack that
was the result of a failed sting operation, and that there's all kinds of theories that Paddock was the middleman selling ammunition. And then they shot Paddock and carried out a terrorist attack.
Probably.
I mean, is that plausible?
Very plausible. First of all, when ISIS takes credit when they claim that they've they've radicalized, Paddock, that he's one of them. He's converted. Like, number one, I doubt it. I doubt he became an angry Muslim terrorist overnight. But if he's doing a gun deal with the feds and trying to get the Saudis to buy some illegal guns or something like that, or set up another country, then that's what he would tell them. And that's what they would believe. So they might have believed when it happened, like, wow, this guy wasn't fucking around. He was one of us. Wow, look, he did this. And really, not even close. He was just a government spook that got basically double stabbed in the back. Like, I don't know. I think it was a gun deal. He had guns at home. If he really wanted to go all out, he would have got some belt fed. He would have got scopes. He would have done something more than what he did. And he wouldn't have
ever get to the bottom of this, Mindy? How will we
I need more
ever get to the
information.
bottom?
I know.
Jesus. I'm
I know
harassing, and I'm not the only.
Go ahead. Mindy.
We will. Even if Lombardo can't walk the streets of Las Vegas, we're going to get our fucking answers. I promise you.
We're going to find out all the truth when we close our eyes and pass away. That's the bottom line.
No, I'm a little here.
When we're dead,
I want to know now.
when we're dead, we'll find out the real truth. But I think while we live on Earth right now, the way things go, there is the truth out there, and we might believe and know what it is, but it's never going to be. It's never going to be out there as fact. And we're going to sit here and we're going to be the small minority of going, this is what happened, but that's not what the people that control this world are going to let out, because it's going to make them look bad, and that will never ever happen. It's funny how the way things are going right now with the unemployment and the gas and stuff like that. Suddenly, with our border open and all these people pouring in and this COVID shit, that we're standing tough about a possible nothing that's happening somewhere else. And we're not going to get into all that. But suddenly now, what a distraction. Oh, my God, things are so horrible here. What's going on over there? Look over there. It's just really pathetic that it's that easy to fucking distract people with a little fucking, a cat and a bell. Ding, 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 go over here. And
always has been.
Yeah, it always happens. Things are so bad here, but it's bad over there. We have to go over there. And we don't have to get into that because we can go down but I want to thank everybody for coming on. I thank you.
Hey, Steve, thank you. And
yeah,
hey, Steve, it's an honor.
Go
Mindy,
around.
thank you. I learned a lot, and I hope you continue, because the key is to get to the truth, and the truth hurts in any investigation. And you're raising good points. Again, I haven't seen the smoking gun, but you've raised some very good points. I remember the footage on the cell phone on YouTube by the Red Elephants. That was wild. That sort of proved there was more than one shooter. But still, the jury's out. And I really pay respect to the families of the victims and the friends, because there's nothing worse than this. And on that note, I'll thank my buddy, Steve Grillo, who I consider a good friend and a very top guy in the field. And Mindy, it's been an honor, pleasure to be on with you both. Buenos noches from South America.
Let's get a little plug where people can find your book and where you're at on social media.
Yeah, Ian Undercover. Everybody, Ian Undercover on Twitter. I'm going to get out now because it's time for
Thanks very much for
Fiesta.
coming on, Ian. I appreciate it. You've always been a good friend.
Anytime, Steve. I'm a huge fan. Take care, Mindy. Thank you for sharing all that. I'll see you guys later.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really thought he was going to be more like, yeah, you're right.
I thought he would watch it before forming an opinion, but here we are.
Well, I sent it to him the moment you sent it to me, but he's been traveling the world, and I said that what I could show you the last text. I said, make sure you watch that shit, and I don't know where he's in, Colombia, whatever. He's racing around everywhere. That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. He knew for.
It's fine. But I don't have a delicate ego. I'm not a liberal.
No, I know. But you know what? It kind of worked out for a little better because if anybody that was listening pays attention, you stuffed it. So it was good. And so everybody, where can they find and watch this and get this out there?
Okay. It's on InfoWars. It's got almost 800,000 views on there. They were nice enough to post it when YouTube started age restricted it because it's dangerous. Obviously, it's still pinned to the top of my Gab. Gab is the only free speech site, the only one. I love Trump, but his isn't either. They have their own servers. So what I like to do is I check the news every day, and you will actually see the real news of what's going on, not all the other stuff that's censored. So I'm on Gab at American AF Mindy, and I'm still kind of on Facebook and Instagram, but it's so censored. I don't even think my name shows up anymore. Yay. Yeah. And then, and please watch it.
It's Route 91. You can find it on YouTube. Is there any other platforms that may not give you a content thing other than that?
I told everyone, like, I didn't want money for this. I didn't want to accept money to even make this. I spent a half year just editing it on my phone, if you can believe it. And I said, just rip it off. This is for free informational purposes. Rip it off, put it on your own platform. So it's on a lot of BitChutes in a lot of different places. It's Route 91, Uncovering the Cover-Up. If you put Mindy Robinson, something, as much as Google hates me, something should come up that'll link to it or not. So, and it's worth watching. Once you watch that, you don't look at anything else the same way. You really don't. You start looking back in time, and you start seeing the holes like cheese come out. And I think we're in for a great awakening, Grillo. I'm an optimist, even during the apocalypse. I think people are wakening up. I don't think they know something's wrong. They may not always know what. And that's where it's going to be kind of our job to kind of get into it. There are so many things I learned these last 2 years. I don't watch TV. I watch conspiracy theories, not so conspiracy theories, I call them. Yeah. If a conspiracy theory makes more sense than what the original idea was, you may want to change your thought process. So,
How has Rumble not reached out to you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know them.
You would have like a great show on Rumble, like considering the way things are going, and I kind of like, okay, God bless Spotify for not dumping Joe Rogan, but then how do you dump 11 million viewers, but yet they kind of try to apologize? I don't even think Joe Rogan, maybe, who knows, when you got $100 million waved in front of your face, will you compromise your values and what you say? He did genuinely come out and say that, listen, these things I come out with, I have this and I have that, and I try to start a conversation. I'm not giving out information. I'm trying to analyze what's going on. And a lot of things that he did say in the beginning that was quoted as misinformation did turn out to be true. And yet one thing he does, he comes out and he gets all this attention. Now he is doing okay and people are standing by him. But now what they did was they dug up some old shit that
they always do.
He was using
Biden has said worse, but no one cares, right? I mean, you have to understand this is selective outrage. It always will be. And you know what? In many ways, maybe it's good this happened to Rogan. I've been dealing with this for years. And I told people when they kicked Alex Jones off of Facebook and some people applauded, I'm like, it's a litmus test. They're coming for all of us. They don't even, and look what happened. Was it last week? Basically, if you post anything or say anything that makes the government look bad or people not trust it, then you're going to be considered a domestic terrorist. Yeah. Fucking bring it. I don't even give a shit anymore. Yeah, but I'm glad this happened to Rogan because he's strong enough to take it. He's big enough where people listen. He's fair-minded. And this is coming for all of us. If they can get him, they can get all of us. And it's a lot easier to fight at this stage than it is, a year into this. So I hope people wake up. Do something.
I want to make one point. And they had nothing to go on him. So what they did was they dug up some old stuff where he used. And I hate the fact that, I understand when you use something hateful. Just say, like, if I have a Jewish friend that says, and I say, you fucking Jew, that's hateful. But if I just kid around and call my friend a Jew, that's okay. Like, I have a friend, he's Jewish. We call him Drew the Jew. It's kind of a lighthearted thing that we love about him. But if I'm
context, yes.
If I'm in context, if I'm singing a lyric, say where Biggie Smalls is like, where he uses the N-word, and I say it while I'm singing, I'm not allowed to say that. And I grew up in a household where that word was never, ever allowed. My parents didn't say it, but the only time I ever used it or was used and it was in context was when we were talking about friends. Yo, that over there. Or yo, you're my, okay, I'm not even going to say what
the only time I've ever heard it was toward other white people in my life, which is weird. But I'm East Coast, you're East Coast, you call each other the worst things. Like, this is your friend, you fucking asshole, fuck you, I fucked your mother. That's our terms of endearment. And, God, I'm glad most of our lives haven't been recorded to this point.
The Puerto Ricans can get away with it. I have Puerto Rican friends, but well, because they grew up around it. But I did too. I grew up hanging out in the Bayview projects, and and all my friends, they were all black. They were all this and that. I never used it as a derogatory word. But the funny thing is, they dug up Joe Rogan using it in the context exactly the way Howard Stern did for 20-something years. And there was, I gotta find it. There was something that Howard did on his pay-per-view special that was beyond reproach. I don't know. Like, this is Howard Stern on his pay-per-view special with William Helmsley.
Everything I'm going to say here tonight, so it's all right. Ain't that right, you smelly nigga?
You know what I'm saying? Like, so now I play that, I get in trouble playing Howard Stern saying it, but he doesn't get in trouble.
Yeah, Howard Stern took a jump off a weird boat lately, didn't he?
Yeah, I know, but the
That's
thing is,
disappointing.
so and I'm sure my producer Noah's gonna have to like bleep that word out, but it's Howard Stern saying it. Me playing it on my show, Howard Stern saying it, who's white, who doesn't get in trouble for it, who has said that word when I worked there for the 8 years and the 20 years that I listened to him, said it not as he said it the same context as Joe Rogan did. But because he's on that he's on the left side, and he's part of that woke community now, the people that he used to make fun of, he won't get canceled from it. Because he had a black co-host and she thought it was okay too. Listen, I worked for him. I thought it was funny. I understood where he was coming from. But they're going to say, well, back then he said it when it was okay. Joe Rogan said it when it was kind of okay, but now it's really not okay. It's getting to levels where it doesn't make sense, and they're using it as a weapon to get people canceled and get them off the air. And it's disturbing on a level where it's like, I listened to even Sean Hannity the other night said, well, you're not allowed to say that word. But I'm not saying like I don't use it. I never use it in a bad context. But now there's a word we're not allowed to say, but only certain people are allowed to say it. It's weird.
They're just making the rules up as they go along. At the end of the day, I'm the only person that could be offended at a word would be a black person, and I'm not going to tell them how to feel. And I think that's where liberals go wrong. They think it's their job to be offended on everyone's behalf. They'll be offended on my behalf as a woman. I'm like, why don't you shut up? Because this is condescending when you assume that I'm that delicate. I'm going to be offended. We don't need to have this conversation because it doesn't affect us. And I think that's the difference. Where I'm like, if that's hurtful, then ask them. Are you hurtful? Should you say that? Okay, don't ask a white liberal. That's the dumbest thing ever. It really is. I mean, it's like, what kind of virtue signaling is that? How dare I assume how other people should feel or what they should be offended at? It should be an individual thing. And if Joe Rogan feels like those people feel like it, then okay. But not somebody else. I don't know. This whole...
Every single one of us should be offended as a society that we let sex trafficking and pedophilia go as long as it has without any fucking repercussion. End of story. End of fucking story. Let's end it on that. Mindy, where can everybody find you, please?
Gab, mostly, and install on Facebook, and I'm everywhere.
Thank God you are. You keep pushing those motherfuckers down. You don't let them breathe. No. I got your back. Please tell your wonderful boyfriend I said hello, and I hope everybody's well. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for everybody listening to this very semi-controversial fact-checking Grillo's Aftershock XL on the after. You can have a show on my show anytime at my network. I will gladly put you on and stand behind you.
You sure you want me to disappear under the table 20 times, hon?
Yeah.
I thought I was like getting seasick.
It either had a lot of cocaine or a vagina.
It was Colombia. I don't know.
Yeah. Could have been both. No.
Whatever. Okay.
Ian's a very good guy, and he's very upsetting. I appreciate the fact that he at least tried to. I thought he was going to come on and be like a little more. Yeah, let's look at this. And
you have to know what you're talking about. Form an opinion. I wasn't going to tell him anything on how to do Epstein. I figured he wrote a book. He probably knows more than me. But apparently, that thought process doesn't work the other way around. So here we are. But whatever. It's freaking fine. Don't worry about it.
I love you, Mindy, and we'll stay in touch. And thank you for coming on.
All right, find that shirt.
Yes, I will. Bye.
Bye.
On eBay for sale.